Hello and welcome back to our Stealth AI series. Previously we've been setting up our Guard AI, dealing with their perception of the player. We're focusing just on sight at the moment, but what I want to focus on in this episode is start introducing the idea of a alert phase as well as an investigation phase, and having those phases have timers that can be reset upon different conditions. So if you've ever played a game like Metal Gear Solid, it's quite clear how it works. So when an enemy suspects they see you or have heard you, they'll investigate, and then they'll enter an alert phase if they see you. If they lose sight of you after a certain amount of time, they'll enter a caution state. Now that caution state means that you have a time limit where they're searching the level for you, but if you hide yourself well enough for long enough, it'll reset back down to the normal patrol and investigate. So there are four states happening here. We've got the standard patrol phase, where they're simply just walking around their patrol path. You've got an investigate phase. And the investigation is when they think they hear something and they go check it out, or they think they saw something, they go check it out. And then you've got the alert phase, where they see the player and they're giving chase and attacking the player. And then finally you've got the caution phase, which is the in-between, reverting back from alert down to investigate. So we haven't got the caution phase in there yet, so we're going to put that in there now, and that is when the enemy is searching around the environment looking for you. So let's go into our behavior tree and add that in. So this will go after the alert phase, alert sequence, sorry. And we'll just move these along a bit so we've got a bit more space, and we'll move that over here and do a sequence, and this is going to be called the caution sequence. And on the caution sequence, we're going to have a thing in here where it's going to find a random point in the environment, which is the same one we made way back when. And we'll make sure it's using the correct key, which is here, the target location vector. And then I'm going to create the move to function there, making sure I'm using the correct key for the move to. So this caution sequence is simply just going to make it randomly search around the level. So let's find random point task. I want to edit this to add a few more extra steps to it. So let's go into this find random point. So in find random point, it's quite basic at the moment. It will just get a radius that it's searching for, and yeah, and off it goes. What I want to do now is give it a couple of things. First of all, I want to set the walk speed of the character, and then I want to make the radius customizable, so we get a bit more choice in how far the enemy will look. So let's do the walk speed. Okay, so in here we're going to do the controlled pawn, and we're going to cast that to the guard enemy. And in fact, actually just do enemy for this one, because we don't need the guard for this one. So cast to enemy. And we're going to take that from there and set max walk speed. First of all, sorry, you have to get the character movement component. There we are. And then we have to get the max walk speed. Let's just move that all along. And set max walk speed. And in here we'll have this plugged in with a variable over here. So this be walk speed, and that'll be a float. Making sure we tick instance editable on the right hand side, or the little eyeball icon, either one, totally up to you. We'll drag that over here and plug that in. And after that, we're then going to plug that in like so. So that's going to change the walk speed based on the input we put in for the walk speed variable. Now, that will handle the speed of the character, but I also want to change their radius of how far they're looking. So we're going to go into variables here, and we're going to get the radius, or search radius, sorry. Search radius max, and that also be a float. And you're going to drag that out, choose get, and plug that into the radius of that there. Make sure you tick instant editable for that one as well, so you can edit it on the behavior tree. So that'll do for now. Compile that and close that. And you can see now these settings appear on the task on the behavior tree. So walk speed here, we're going to make the same as our investigate. So we got 150. We'll make that go to 150 as well. And the search radius we'll set to 1000 by default. Okay, so that's going to just find a random point in the map and tell it to move to it when it enters a caution sequence. But let's handle actually how we enter this caution sequence. So as I said, it's when they're in the alert phase and they lose sight of us for a certain amount of time. When they've lost sight of us after a certain amount of time, it's going to change it to a different sequence. So on here, we're going to change and add a decorator. So the blackboard key, we want to go in here and go new key, bool, and you want to type in is in caution state. Go back to your behavior tree, and we're going to right click on the alert sequence, add decorator, blackboard, and this decorator is going to have the key is in caution state, and whether or not is not set. So is not set is the key query, and when it changes, the observer wants to abort itself. So when it detects that we are now in caution state, it'll end whatever it's doing here and crack on to this state here. So now we've got the boolean set up for our blackboard, we now need to figure out how we're going to trigger that and so on and so forth. So let's go have a look at how this will work. So when we do move to target actor location, what I want to do is that when we have stopped seeing the player character, we move out of that into that mini search for the player. So what we're going to do is actually use one of the things we've got already on that AI controller, which is when we lose the sight of the character, we are setting the value target location actor to nothing. So we can use that as part of our behavior tree. So if I go to my behavior tree here, and then right click on this move to, add decorator, blackboard, and choose the blackboard base condition and choose a blackboard key to be that target location actor. And you want to leave it as is set. If it changes, you want to change the observer aborts to self. That way, when it's no longer seeing the player character, it'll abort this and stop moving to the player character's location. But when it aborts it, we want it to still continue to its last known position, something that we previously already set up. So I'm going to disconnect it from here, and we're going to move it over to this side on the alert phase. So now we've got these two set up. Now the problem with this is it has a sequence. So it's going to do this and then it's going to do this, which is not what we want. Instead, we want a selector. So it only does one of them. So do a selector and connect those two to the selector. So now it will only do move to unless target location actor is not set to anything. Then it'll go down the last known position sequence and do this stuff. Now this will take it to its last known position, but as I mentioned earlier, I want to do a little search around while still in the alert phase. So that's going to have its own little mini tree here. So I'm going to drag it down here and do a sequence. And this sequence is going to have quite a simple one. It's going to just have this find random point task and move to. So I'm going to copy that and paste that into that sequence there. But I'm going to change the walk speed here to 100 and the search radius to 300. And then when it moves to that location, I'm going to tell it to wait for a second. So wait, and change the time for that to, let's do 2 seconds. And that way it will just search in a little mini radius around it to see if the player's anywhere nearby. Have a little look around basically. Oh, I accidentally cut that. I want to copy that. Put that back here. There we go. And let's change that back, sorry. I accidentally cut when I should have copied. There you go. Okay, so this sequence is going to play after we've moved to our last location. It will then search around the local area, but it's only going to do it once, which isn't great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the loop. So we're going to right click on that, add decorator, and take it to do a loop. And once that loop has succeeded, I'm going to leave it as 3. But once it's succeeded, it will end that sequence and then move on to the next line. And the next line in that sequence is going to be changing the is in caution state to true. So let's go and create a new task for this and to choose a new BT task blueprint base. And we're going to create a new execute pin here. And, oh, apologies, we meant to rename it. There we go. And this is enter caution state task. There you go. So in this task, it's quite a simple one. You're going to have a variable in here, and that's going to be the BB underscore caution key. And that'll be a Blackboard Blackboard key selector, sorry. And make sure it's editable. Then you're going to drag that out, choose get, and you're going to set value as bool. Plug that in, tick it, and also just chuck in a finish execute and tick success. So it's a really simple one. That's all it is. So we're going to go and put that into our guard behaviors tree now. So after this sequence, I'm going to come out of here and do the caution state task. Make sure you change your BB caution key to the correct is in caution state, because that would want to be set there to be true. That means then that will exit this and abort itself, and then enter the final state here, caution sequence. So let's see if this works, okay? We just want to see if it enters the caution state. So to do this, we go and play it, enter our debug mode, and I'm going to keep the 4 on, see the perception, and push 2 to see the behavior tree. At the moment, it says the behavior tree is in route 14 alert sequence. So I'm waiting to see that turn into the caution sequence. So now it's moving to its last known position, looking around in that loop. So now it's gone into that caution sequence. Okay, and now it's going to look around the environment in a much wider search radius. So that's that. Going to go back to our behavior tree. So it's going to enter this caution sequence, but as I said, it's going to just do this and end it. We don't want to do that. We want to stay in a timer. So it has a timer-based solution to this rather than just play once and forget it. So on here, you can actually add a timer to this. So if you right-click and add a decorator and choose loop, and then click on the loop decorator, and instead of number of loops being 3, you tick infinite loop, and you put in a time of how long you want it to be before it ends this sequence. So in there, we're going to change this value here to, let's say 20. So 20 seconds it remains in the caution sequence until it quits out and then leaves that and goes back to its patrol path. Now, it's important to note, the caution hasn't been changed at all. So we can actually do that on one of our pre-existing tasks on the patrol path. So when it finds a path point, we can actually do that here. So go on to path point task, add a new variable, and that's BB caution state, and that'll be a Blackboard key selector. And it's fine to put it on here because you're only ever going to turn it off when you are doing a patrol state anyway, so that's totally okay for this. And we're going to put it just before we end it, get BB caution state, set Blackboard value as bool, and leave it as false. Go back to your behavior tree and make sure you set that to be the correct key on your Blackboard. So it's going to do the patrol path and walk speed 150 and just do that. Then it's going to enter this and crack on with the investigation. If it hears us, that's what that's going to be doing. If it sees us, it's going to enter alert sequence and do that whilst it's seeing us. And that's that. Then we're going to go into loop the caution sequence once we have lost sequence sight of the player and we've looked around a little bit. Okay, so now we've got a way out of the caution sequence by time. We now want to get out of caution sequence if we see the player. And that goes for his other searching modes as well. So when he's looking for us in the last known position, loop section down here. So we need to have, first of all, an exit caution state task. So basically the same as this one, but doing the exit. So I'm going to go new task, PT task blueprint base, and do execute AI, new variable, BB caution state, and that'll be a Blackboard key selector. Tick editable. drag it out, and set value as bool. Making sure you leave it as false. Then you finish execute and hit compile and save. And we want to rename that one as exit caution state task. So that on the behavior tree will happen at the end of our loop here, first of all. So when we come out of here at the end, we'll do exit. So that's if we finish by time. It's just going to exit the caution state task, and we'll do that the correct key. But as I said, we want to do it when we enter into the field of view of the character. We want to be able to exit that too. So we need to set up a interrupt with an abortion via the Blackboard based conditions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a Blackboard based condition on here. And the Blackboard based condition is that you can only do this if the target location actor is not set. So only do that if that is the case. If that condition changes, I want it to abort itself. So it'll come out of there and then go down to exit the caution state task here. Meaning that it will exit the caution state, which means we can now enter back into the alert phase. So once we've done that, we want to also add it to our last known position sequence here. So add decorator Blackboard, choose location vector, location actor, and we'll make it so when it is not set, and if it changes, abort itself. Hit save, and let's see how that works in motion. So let's go into debug and turn on options 2 and 4, and we can see what that does now. So it goes to the last known position, and if I interrupt it now, it returns back to chasing me. And if I go back and just wait for it to go into caution mode, so at the moment it is last known position. Now it's doing a little sequence of loops. There's 2. There's 3. Now it's in caution. And if I run ahead of it and which is it now goes back into alert phase, chasing after me. So the last thing I want to do here is increase his speed if he sees me. Okay, so we'll go into that guard behavior there, and we want to change the player's speed when they enter that mode. So we can do it on the Blackboard, on the behavior tree here, but rather than make a whole new task just to handle the speed, we can do it in the AI controller as well. So remember, this top branch here, so if it is successfully seeing us and investigating, and it is the player, we want to change the pawn's movement here. So this is the alert phase. So if I get controlled pawn, and then cast to character, I can then get the character movement. And that's there. I'm going to set the max walk speed here to 400. Will do. Hit compile. So now when he sees us, he'll move a lot quicker. When he loses sight of us, he'll now move around a lot more slowly, but more carefully while he's searching. And he's currently in the caution sequence. So now if he sees me, go to alert, and it goes back to last known position, and he'll change the walk speed again to slow, methodical searching. And that'll do it for this episode. So now we've got a character that walks about, he's got patrolling, he's got a caution phase, got alert phase, investigation phases. What we're going to do now is set up the investigation phase to work with hearing. So when he hears something, he's going to investigate where that sound came from and hopefully find you. So join us in the next part when we set up hearing over on patreon.com/whininglady, where you can watch that part plus all the others, as well as many other videos before anyone else, all from just $1 a month. Thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. If you're watching this and you haven't yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really does help me out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.